So, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 25. Avyaktoyam achintoyam avikaroyam uchyate tasmad evam viditvainam nanu sochitum arhasi. Now, avyaktoyam, avyakto means which is indescribable, and avyakta also means that it is invisible. Avyaktoyam, achintyoyam, achintyo is inconceivable. Avikaroyam, avikaro means it is immutable, you cannot cut it. And tasmat evam viditvainam, after you know this, nanu sochitum arhasi. Now, once you know this, why you are still lamenting for the body? Now, Krishna is basically explaining that once you know the eternal nature of the soul, you should not be mourning or you should not be grieving for the body. That does not mean that does not encourage indiscriminate killing. So, as it is also mentioned in the previous sections, that the soul is very, very minute. It is very small. It is so small that no material calculation can fit into the dimension, or you cannot ascertain what is the dimension of the soul, because it cannot be seen by the naked eyes or even with the help of the powerful microscope. The point is that it is invisible, not because it is small in nature. It is invisible because it is spiritual in nature, and then direct perception of spiritual elements is possible. Direct visibility of the spirituality of the spirit soul is not possible through our naked eyes. Now, as far as the soul's existence is concerned, no one can deny the fact that the soul exists. Now, there may be a possibility of debating that how soul exists and all those things that we can learn through various means. But the existence of the soul cannot be denied. At the same time, existence of the soul cannot be proven by experimental methods. That means you cannot do scientific experiments to prove the existence of the soul. Rather, there are logical and other scientific ways where you can prove the existence of the soul, and there are various methods that are used to do the proving of the soul. Now, not as per the conventional experimental method, and you dissect the body and then you find out where the soul is residing there. So that way it is not possible. But then you can understand through various means, like through cause and effect, by through common sense, and by through there are various means through which one can perceive the existence of the soul. Now, the truth is the soul is existing. Just like one example can be given, that existence of the father cannot be denied by the son or the child. Now, the son or the child can ask the proof of the existence of the father, and the proof comes from the mother. And the proof of the mother, the statement of the mother's authoritative acknowledgement or authoritative expression, can possibly remove all the possible experimental conclusions that may come in, right? So basically it means that there is an authoritative understanding of existence of the soul, and there is an experimental understanding of the existence of the soul. Now, authoritative understanding is coming from the scriptures, from the Vedas, and scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, and the experimental knowledge through common sense, through through the theory of cause and effect, and there are other things through which one can understand. Now, at the same time, one cannot deny the existence of the father on the authority of the mother's statement. Now, whenever we try to do some experimental knowledge, or whenever we try to conceive the existence of the soul through experimental knowledge, there is always some percentage of error that comes in always with that experiment, because of which it could lead to a erroneous result. Now, whenever an experiment is conducted, error is inevitable. That is why whenever we hear from the authority, it removes all kinds of errors subjected to the truthfulness of the authority. I mean, if the authority is not truthful, one cannot be called as an authority. As simple as that. If somebody is called an authority in that subject, that means the person who is claiming or who is said to be the authority must be speaking the truth. Otherwise, one cannot be termed as an authority. Without that understanding, we cannot understand deeper subject matter of soul. Now, the soul is infinitesimal. That means it is very, very small, very, very minute. At the same time, the soul is unchangeable. The soul does not change. The body changes. And because the soul, at the same time, there are different people, there are different bodies, and each of the living bodies have got different individual souls. And same goes with the Supreme Soul also. Supreme Soul is different, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the individual soul is minute and small and is different. So there are different ways that is used to confirm or explain this particular truth. Now, you may be thinking that why Krishna is repeating the similar pattern, the existence of the soul. In one sense, so the last 3 to 4 verses is completely repetitive. It is the whole thing is repetitive in nature. Why is that? Because repetition is done to emphasize a certain understanding. Repetition is done to emphasize on certain understanding. And why it is repeated? So that we can get the message deeper. Unless we get the message deeper, the further understanding will not be clear, because everything else that is going to be discussed from here on based on the existence of the soul. Now, the next verse is discussing about the verse 26. अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वावन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैनं शोचितुम् अर्हसि. Now, this particular verse, atha chainam nityajatam. Now, the soul is the cause of the symptom of life. The existence of the soul creates symptoms of life. Now, the soul, the body is going to take birth and going to die. But the soul is not going to take birth, is not going to die. The soul does not have any birth, the soul does not have any death. So, the difference in the body and the soul is, the body is not permanent, the soul is permanent. Now, that's what is being explained in this particular verse, that Nitya Jatam, Atha Chainam Nitya Jatam, Nityam Va Manyase Mrutam. So, this Mrutam is referring to the body. The body is already dead. That means the body is subject to death. The body is going to die. And you should not lament for that which is going to die eventually. And you should not worry about the soul which is never going to die. Now, that's what is emphasized in this particular 26th verse. Now, let us get some deeper understanding about this, that so far till the verse 25th, Krishna mentioned about the existence of the soul, and he is now twisting the statement. Even if you think that the soul does not exist, for some it may be a understanding. Now, even if you think that the soul does not exist, and if you think that it is just a bundle of chemicals that came together that gives rise to life, still there is no need to worry. Because what is the loss if there is some loss of chemicals that has happened? So that means if you think that there is no soul in the body and the body is just getting dead, that means you lose some chemicals from one form to another. So still there is no cause of lamentation. Now, there are different philosophers that they propound varieties of philosophies, and certain philosophers like Lokayatikas and Vaibhasikas, such philosophers, they think or they maintain the understanding that life takes birth at a certain mature condition of material combination. That means matter comes together in a certain specific combination, and at a certain mature stage of that combination, life manifests. Even if you understand from that perspective, soul, we don't bother about soul, then what is the loss? So even if the person dies, so there is going to be disintegration of that whole body and disintegration of that whole of the chemicals. So there is still no need of any worry. Now, when we understand this particular concept, this does not again encourage unnecessary killing, right? This does not unnecessarily encourage the killing of unnecessary things or living entities. Now, Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Mahabahu. Mahabahu is mighty armed. That means he's the strong personality. He's coming through a certain Kuru lineage, and that's what he's being addressed with that. Now, this particular understanding of soul does not exist. Krishna is just putting a logical, proposition to Arjuna or to the people, those who do not believe in the existence of soul. So he's basically covering the entire spectrum, those who believe in the existence of soul and those who do not believe in the existence of the soul. So likewise, Krishna is giving an opportunity for everyone to understand the Bhagavad Gita from their own perspective, and that is quite accommodative on Krishna's part. So the deterioration of the body does not does not lose anything, and at a certain point you will understand that matter is produced from the existence of the soul. For example, there is a tree, so tree produces sap, tree produces fruits, leaves, branches, twigs, and everything else. We also produce sweat, we produce our excretas, and the things come out from our nose and ear and all those things. So existence of the soul within the body produces matter. When the soul exits, when the soul leaves the body, everything else stops. That means the bodily functions stop, and all the things that come out as matter or as the excretas, they also stop. And for the trees and other living entities, the fruits and flowers and everything else, that also stops. So matter comes from the existence of the soul. It is not the otherwise. It is not the other way around. So let us understand the next one. Thank you very much. So please you can subscribe and share this, and then check the description for the links. Thank you.